All right, I'm here with Lee Cockerell, who just went through a hurricane, which I know you're supposed to keep these things evergreen, but yeah, now you'll just start trying to figure out which hurricane's he talking about. Well, that's the mystery. Lee, how are you doing?
Oh, we're good. We didn't have really any issues at our house, but boy, Florida's a mess right
Yes.
now. It is really a disaster over on the Gulf side. But
Mm,
no, we just kind of we didn't even lose power. Everything was fine, so we feel blessed. And big cleanup though. It's going to be a while.
yes. Yeah, I just saw a video clip of the, is it that bridge highway that goes through the Keys?
Yeah,
And there are complete sections that are just gone. And I thought, oh, wow, there
yeah,
goes some,
it was amazing. And
yeah.
I've been through many of these, and I think this one must have been the worst ever. So.
Yeah. I
Uh,
love sometimes, I don't know, I respect, I think that's the better way to say it. I respect how Mother Nature will remind us from time to time who's really in charge and who's
uh,
really stronger.
She
Uh,
doesn't reveal her plan very far in advance.
no, no, not at all. And so you got something like this bridge that, whoever built that and designed it thought this is impervious to anything that could be thrown at it. And then your sections are missing. You're like, oh, wow, that's humbling. Um, And so I have no idea how that's going to transition to the conversation we had planned, but that's what we started with. Now, for those of you who don't know, Lee was a senior executive leader with Walt Disney World, the resorts, and he's climbed though from being a cook, serving in the army, to being that senior executive. So it wasn't like just overnight. Boom, he's an executive. So if there's somebody who knows about career management, career growth, it's Lee because he did it for himself and he helped coach other people to grow in their careers. And there's a great book that he came out with a few years back called Career Magic. And so that's what I asked Lee to join us and talk about because in that book, Lee, you talk about the three E's and how they're important for somebody's career to thrive. Can you tell us about its education, experience, and exposure? Tell us about each one of those things and how it helps our careers advance and grow on a level we didn't expect, or maybe that we want it to, but we just never don't know how to go about it.
Yeah, well, for me, it became more clear that those three were the right three because I didn't graduate from college. Went 2 years and promptly flunked out for not going to class. But
That'll
you
hurt, yeah.
know, I think a lot of parents and a lot of people say just get a great education and that'll take care of everything, and that's not true. I would say the best education you get is experience in your life and your career and exposure, which is one of the problems a lot of people have. They're still in their little town. They've never been anywhere. They don't know anybody that's not doesn't look like them. And so when I left Oklahoma, I was 20 years old, went in the army, and I didn't know anybody that wasn't didn't look like me.
Mm,
And that changed pretty quick when you get in the army. And then I moved to Washington D.C. And let me tell you, everybody's from everywhere in the
yes.
world. And then you go in the hotel and hospitality business, and everybody is from everywhere because that's an entry level, and it's just people go to those jobs, and you work with them, you go out with them, and they become your friends. And all of a sudden, you have this new appreciation through that exposure in life to that everybody's great and they're great people, and it has nothing to do with religion or sexual orientation or anything. And so it changes you. You're not
Yeah.
the person you were. And then experience. I had a lot of great experience. I worked in the army. I was a cook. I've been a waiter. I've cleaned rooms. I've worked in casinos. I've worked all over. And Let me tell you what, there's no employee, then they know when I come to a job that Lee knows because I've done it.
Yeah.
I know all the bad behavior that's going on. I know I might even have participated in it if they would dig, back in the day. And once you know, and it raises your self confidence, it raises your performance, and it raises your relationship and with the people you work with because they have a high regard for people who know how to do what they do.
Mhm.
And when you think about it, education's great, but it'll probably be change pretty rapidly the things you learned in college. but experiences, once you got experience, it's burned into your soul. You can never, you did it. I worked in the oil fields out at 110 degrees in the oil fields. No, that never leaves. I remember that very well, and the people I worked with, and how they treated me, and making sure I don't ever treat people that way. And then this exposure to the world. When I left Oklahoma, I've never been anywhere. Now I've done work and I've traveled to 48 countries in the world. And I know people from everywhere. As I laugh, sometimes I tell people, I've got friends named Mohammed.
Mhm.
When I was in Oklahoma, I didn't.
Yeah.
And Jose and Ricardo and Maria and on and on and on and on. And it's just an enlightening, makes you a better person. I
Yeah.
know. I'm not the same person I was when I left 20 years or God, 50, 60
Yeah,
years
it's
ago.
really interesting how that exposure to you're talking exposure in terms of different types of people, different walks of life, and that exposure pulls you out of your comfort zone. Like you only knew one world, the great big metropolis known as Ardmore, Oklahoma, and now you're living in places like New York City and Paris even, and Washington D.C. and you learn that there's more than one way to see the world, and there's more than one way to tackle a problem. And if you learn to embrace that diversity and these different ways of thinking and seeing the world, it makes you more capable to handle any problem that comes forward, I think. Is that what you've also found? Like seeing different ways also allowed you to tackle a problem with different options.
Yeah, there's not much that bothers me. I've kind of been there, seen it. When you work in the hotel business, everything that happens in real life happens in a hotel
Yeah.
with the employees, with the guests, with your boss, the good behaviors, bad behaviors. And yeah, it just, it reduces, I think, experience reduces a lot of anxiety because you said earlier, how does it relate to what we're talking about today? And I guarantee you, careers are like hurricanes.
Yes.
They come and they hit and they blow and they go and they come back again someday.
Yeah.
And
Eh,
I always said it's like a roller coaster. You have those beautiful ride up, it's slow and quiet, and then you have a disaster. You get fired. You get a boss you can't work with. I mean, it's unbelievable. A
yeah.
recession, 9/11, hurricanes, and
The
it it
pandemic.
it you makes you very resilient, and I think then you handle things more calmly. People trust you more because they sense that confidence that he's not going to overreact, he's not going to treat me badly, he's not going to raise his voice to me, he's not going to yell at me, and all of a sudden people like working with you.
Yes. Yeah. It sounds like experience combined with exposure to not just diversity, but exposure to different types of work, even gives you that confidence that needed to handle crisis as it arises as a leader.
Oh yeah, I mean it does, and I just one thing I worry about is enough people are not getting out of their village and going out and getting exposure to the world. I talk about this all the time. Get out of your little village because nothing's going to change there, and you can change, but it
Mhm.
won't change if you stay in the same place. And the education part, I finally got that, not with a college degree, but I woke up one day and realized after moving to Washington and New York and LA and all, how much I didn't know, how ignorant I was. And I started listening to tapes, reading more, taking courses, and all of a sudden, I learned things I should have probably learned 10 years before,
Yeah.
but I didn't. But once you figure out how little you know, the world's a big place. It's very complex, and and then I learned also what I didn't know. I hired people around me to take care of that. So hire experts and let them do their job.
Yeah.
And those are the kind of things that have really made me successful. And as I put in this book, each one of those lessons, you don't know them when you're going through them, but you know them after you've been through them. and
Yes.
when you're in the middle of a disaster or working for somebody you just can't, you hate it, you're not being treated right. That you that's a learning that you don't realize till later.
Yes, yes. Uh,
So,
when was a time in your career, whether it was at Walt Disney Company or with Marriott or anywhere else, where those three pieces came together perfectly to help you handle a situation? So your education, your experience, and your exposure gave you all the right tools so that when this crisis came up, whatever the crisis was, you had everything you needed to come up with a decision like that, a plan, and everybody just said, "Wow, okay, yes, we'll do the thing that Lee just said."
yeah, I mean, I would say my early career, I had 8 years with Hilton. I was just doing my job. I wasn't paying. And matter of fact, I didn't have as much exposure as I wish I had because I was working 6 days a week. So I was living in LA, but I wasn't seeing LA.
Hmm.
And but again, after that, I would say it started at Marriott because they really focused on your training and development and getting you exposed. And I worked for them. I traveled to Hong Kong. I traveled to Poland, all over the world doing work. So they gave me that exposure that I probably would have never done by myself. I went to Poland before the wall came down. It was still,
Oh.
and that experience is like, whoa! You get off the plane and people there with machine guns on, and and going in the stores and there was no food, there was no nothing,
Mhm.
and it's changed today. And but then I was really by the time I got started with Disney, then had really accumulated a ton of experience and exposure, and had been reading and taking courses and getting really excited about waking up every morning knowing more than I did when I went to bed, And
Yes.
it's progressive. It's like if you decide to do it, you can do it. And I tell people, don't underestimate what you can do. All you got to do is start doing it. And don't blame your mother. Don't blame you were poor or you're from some third world country. Forget all that. You've got it's all. I tell people it's all in your brain. Your brain lies to you. Your brain tells you you can't do something. It's a big lie, and you listen to it. And your brain lies to you because over your lifespan, things have been put up there to make you insecure and feel like you're nobody, and not having a college degree, and growing up in a little racist town, and uh, all of a sudden your brain tells you that's all true, and then when you get out and get exposure, you find out it's not true.
Yes. Yeah, it's
It's
almost
not
like
true.
you've held yourself back through like a million tiny paper cuts, and it's all these things that just add up over time that make you think, yeah, that you aren't worthy of or capable of, and then you just have that catalyst moment, hopefully, that says, wait a second, I'm exactly where I need to be right now with the things I need to take that first step to the thing I need to do. uh, I feel like I'm just shouting at myself because that's kind of where I'm going through right now. I'm like, yeah, okay, I listen to my own show here. We got to do this. So,
Well,
um,
the thing is, I think that you probably can't do it until you break out. I mean, I could not have ever come to that conclusion until I got out of the environment I was in. You've
mhm.
got to extricate yourself from the environment that's holding you in and not giving you this assurance that and when I tell people if your life's not going the way it is, I don't care where, just leave. Go live in New York, Washington, somewhere. You won't starve to death. You'll find something to do. You'll get a job. You can go to the Salvation Army, but get out of that place that makes you feel like you can't do anything or be anybody, because that's what's trapping you. When you're in an
Yes.
environment, you become like the environment because that's the way. That's the problem in politics. If you hang around the people that say the same things their whole life and you never hear anything different and you believe everything, that's what you are. That's what you become. And that's one thing and it's hard for a lot of people. Their parents don't want them to move, they want you to stay here, wait, blah, 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 And I'm
Yeah.
going to tell you right now, you don't do what your parents want. You do what you need to do with you and your family. And so my mother wanted me to stay in Oklahoma and become a dentist. Really? Really? No, I've had so much fun. I've lived all over the world. And so there's something inside you when you've been exposed uh,
Yes, and you
that
can't shut it off, right? It's just like
can't get rid of it. Yeah, you
exactly.
can't forget it like you can forget things you learned in school.
Yes. It's almost like the movie The Matrix where you had the choice between the red pill and the blue pill, and you take the red pill and it just opens your eyes to what's possible, and there's like, I don't want to go back. It's
Absolutely, it's just and it's that easy. It
Yeah.
seems hard, but it's not. Just do it. And what's going to happen? You can always move back to that place if it doesn't work out, you know.
Plug back in for a little bit before people notice, and then get right back into it,
Exactly.
whatever the dream may be.
The
Uh,
risk is low.
yeah, and I think a lot of people would be surprised by that. I mean, I've mentioned I've gone through it myself where I've talked myself out of, venturing out or writing a book. And now I realize I'm 46 and it's like, wait a second, I am not getting younger. My last physical just proved that I am getting older. So what am I going to be doing with this life? And so it's like stepping out of those comfort zones and forcing myself out of those comfort zones and realizing I have the knowledge, I have the ability, I have the capability. Do I have the will to go make it happen? That's the only thing I need to plug in, and I've got the formula. Um, and it's amazing to hear you say it. It's like, yes, I'm on the right track, I'm doing it. uh, Now you've got this book Career Magic, and you wrote it back in, I believe, 2015. Is that correct? 2016, somewhere
Yeah,
in that ballpark.
2016. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And you gave it a facelift, I heard, through your show, actually.
Yeah, I did. I was reading it again. First, I did for two reasons. First, it wasn't edited very well when I first did it. My wife about killed me because her mother was an English teacher, and I said I've written six books now, and I don't know where the commas go, but and the semicolons. But so she said, get this redone. It needs a lot of work. So I got a really great editor. They edited it. And then I went back through it and basically added some things. But at the end of every chapter, I added insights, a list
Hmm.
of what you learned in this chapter, just to emphasize. Okay, you just read this. Now, here are the 8 points that you rethink these right now. So you start to figure out what action should you take from what you just learned. So and that's what mainly I did, is because in the first book, Creating Magic, I had insights at the end of every chapter, and people really have told me they really like that.
Yeah.
Uh, what were the main points I should have learned, Lee? And those are the main points that help you make your right decision. So that's a big learning for me to start anything I do now. Is that when you even give a speech, I'll, summarize the main points at the end. Okay, here's what you just heard for an hour.
Yes.
1, 2, 3.
It's
You
like that
know,
old
take care of
adage.
yourself. So that means get sleep, eat right, and then exercise. That's what I just talked about. you know, and forget all the other stuff I said. So
It's really interesting, right? It's like, tell them what you're going to tell them, and then tell them what you told them. It applies, even sounds like, to books. Every single chapter, if it's a nonfiction book, you probably wouldn't do it in a fiction novel, but at least with a nonfiction, if you're trying to teach people some concepts. I'm saying this mostly for myself because I just jotted down insights at end of each chapter, because I'm working on my self edit right now before I hand my manuscript off to my editor. So
and
I just got bonus
if
content.
you're writing a book, you might want to think about what is it that I want to teach people in this chapter.
Yes.
So then at the end, you'll know you're going to put the insights in there. It's not just blah blah blah, but here's the 3, 4, 5 things that are important. And that'll it's like people ask me what I did at Disney, and I said, well, the main thing we do at Disney is hire them right, train them right, and treat them right.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the insight. Forget all the other stuff. You do those three things, let me tell you what, you will have no problems.
Yes.
And
And
sometimes we go on and we don't get to the point.
yes. Oh
Yeah.
yeah. And and it sounds like you also updated about like 15 to 20% of the book. So it's like not just the insights, but there's some other things that updated. You got a copy editor who cleaned up the commas and pieces like that. Uh, so folks probably are trying to race out and get the older copy so they can compare, but don't worry about that, guys. Just get the book, get the knowledge. Uh,
Good
Now,
thing, by the way, is most Americans are not very good either, because I only got about 4 comments over the last 5 years about the grammar, and people telling me the book was great because they didn't know any more than I did, apparently.
yeah.
So
And I mean, you share your own story in there, and it's very compelling. And you get to see like, this is where he learned this, and this is where he learned this, and I kind of went through something similar, and I can learn from that too. And oh wow, that's the hurdle I've run into and didn't realize. And so it's the story is there, and the lessons are there, and I think if that's the case, then folks probably don't care as much about the. Don't tell your wife I said this. She doesn't listen to my show, so we should be okay. Uh,
Well, you know more than you think you do. That's the problem.
right?
See, you're your own worst enemy. I was too.
Yeah, and I mean that goes
Only
for
your brain knows what's holding you back. Nobody else knows.
exactly, and it's just there's only so many times when you can hear somebody telling you or a bunch of people telling you, why haven't you like published this, or why haven't you created a business around this, or why haven't you created a training program for this? And there's only so many times you can hear that before you realize, wait, why haven't I? And that's if you get to that point. I think there are a lot of people out there who still kind of just think, man, I wish that things were just better somewhere. Like they don't take that responsibility for themselves and say, wait, I am in control of my own destiny here. Uh,
One thing that matters most is discipline. If you're going to do it, then you got to get up every day and do. I wrote my books. I write from 8:30 to 10:30 every morning until I'm done. Every
mm,
morning, 7 days a week. I schedule it. It's in my calendar. Sometimes I write for half an hour and I'm brain dead, so I put it down. But schedule the priorities in your life if you want to get them done, and you will get them done. If you write every day for 2 hours, you're going to get done.
yeah.
And
Oh yeah.
instead of watching TV or screwing around, and you got to when you start to schedule what you want to complete, it'll be in your calendar. You'll stop at 8:30 and you'll write. And
Yeah.
next thing you know, you got a book.
Right. It's kind of like they say about your checkbook, like where your money goes, that's kind of where your heart is or your mind. It's the same with your calendar. It's whatever you're putting on your calendar is where your heart really is. So if you're saying like a goal to start a business or to get a promotion or to go back to school, to get a certification, whatever it is,
Right.
that you put the time in your calendar every single day to get closer and closer to that achievement, that's where your treasure is, and you protect it. It sounds like, I mean, you're writing every day 8:30 to 10:30, and you've got 6 published books to show for it, plus a speaking career. And uh, but it's because you put the time in, the things that people don't typically see. And
Well, you have time, by the way. During the pandemic, we didn't have anything to do.
yeah.
So my partner and I developed the Cockerell Academy, and it has 10 courses in it. It's a subscription rate, and they're great. And the reason we did it is we said, well, what are we going to do? There's nothing else to do. Let's use our time. Let's get off the couch. And so we did it for like an hour, and an hour tomorrow, an hour next hour. Next thing you knew, we were done.
Mhm.
And we it's like you have the time. Do you
Yes.
have the will? Do you
Yes.
really want it?
Yes. And it's just like, you hear a lot of stories of folks who, maybe their businesses closed up shop, or, but then on the flip side, so many folks who just reinvented themselves or made an adjustment, and both have the same amount of time in front of them. And it's what do they choose to do with it? Where do they choose to let their minds go? Did they, yeah. And
You are the solution.
yes, it's like that's the good news, right? And also the bad news. It's
Yeah, you are. Your mother
uh,
was not going to write the book for you.
oh
Yeah.
man, oh man. I probably wouldn't want her to, only because her English is still broken. She's from Thailand.
Well, she might still make your bed for you, but she won't
Uh,
write the
oh no, no, she would choose Tiger Mom. She'd make me make my own bed.
book.
And I'd probably get spanked for it too. I'm like, I'm 46, Mom.
Yeah, there you go.
uh,
I was 46 when I joined Disney,
oh
and
wow, yeah. And
it was a new. Just we did it, and who knew? I mean, I'd been married 17 years, and my wife said, like, go to France, open Disneyland Paris, Disney. Let's go do it.
yeah.
And it could have not worked out, but I figure I can still get a job as a waiter if I have to. We're not going to starve.
Yeah, there's always a plan B, right? There's always a
Yeah, and when you're doing it, sometimes it's miserable, for a year, 2 years, or however long it takes you to achieve that. I mean, yeah, but if you stay on it, you'll get on the other side of it,
yeah.
and just plug away.
And so your first project when you went to Disney was to open Disneyland Paris?
Right.
Yeah. No pressure there, right?
That was rough. That was rough.
Oh man, most leaders, they get in and maybe they work on like some small little quick win for the organization to prove themselves or get a feel for the lay of the land. They threw you right in there to open that. Oh man, I think I was in high school when that opened. Um,
Well, I'm about to start 79, so you were a baby probably.
yeah. Uh,
We opened 30 years ago.
oh yeah, yeah. I
So
was
you were
probably, yeah,
16.
16. Yep. Yeah, learning to drive, and the only thing that's still the same then as now is I could barely grow facial hair. I think that's
Well, that's good for you. That's a good thing.
it's the Asian genes.
I tell everybody in the world, they say, "What do you recommend?" I said, "Shave."
Right? Yeah. Oh man. I think I finally got to an age where I have to shave daily if I want to look clean at work.
Hey,
But
I got a mirror and a razor. I put it in the shower, one of those sticks on the wall,
uh
and I shaved in 30 seconds at night and in the morning. Just
oh
because
man.
when you don't have a big beard, you can go quick. And
More bonus content here. I got a life hack I never knew I needed.
I gotta save time, man. I'm too screwed up. I'm always worried about time.
Oh man, that's brilliant. Now, I think the dumb question I had is, so career magic. If you don't know by now, because the pandemic made us very very adept at buying online. So I know the book is on Amazon, but if somebody just is adamant and they don't want to buy the book off of Amazon, are there other places where they could buy the book?
Oh yeah, it's at Barnes and Noble, and it's wherever books are sold. I mean, it's actually we just got an offer from China. They want to publish it, and my first book's in 22 languages, Career Magic or
Oh,
Creating Magic, and universities are using my books now as textbooks because the kids today we're finding out they don't want theory, they want real life. How do you do it? What?
yes.
And so we did a course for the University of Northern Arizona. It's an online course the students take. We're talking to other schools right now, and practical. Kids want practical advice, not some theory that was written in 1941. About. So I think that's pretty much. And I think the young people today would need encouragement to go do their thing. And so yeah, it's been fun. I love working with students. I'm
Yeah.
even working with high schools too, because they need a lot of encouragement of get out there and do these things. Even if you don't have a college degree, get a good job, be the best at it, and then you'll get promoted. I don't care if it's cleaning bathrooms, be the best bathroom cleaner in the world's ever seen, and you'll be in charge of the bathroom cleaners. You know,
Yes.
I mean, it's just become an expert in something, and
Yeah. That
experience does that. If you do it every day, you'll be an expert.
it sounds like. I mean, you called it discipline. It sounds like a lot of it is also the attitude you bring in every day. If you come
Well,
in and apply those
attitude's
job stops, I
everything,
guess. Yeah.
I would say 85% of your life is attitude, good or bad.
Yeah.
You
And
create most of your problems.
right.
I said the one question you should ask every day when you have a problem in your life, no matter what it is it my fault?
Yeah. Uh,
Whose fault is it you haven't written your book?
yeah. Oh, geez. Yeah.
No, but it's your fault.
I tried to place blame on that one, and it just
Of
kept my
course.
name kept coming up. I'm like, what is this? Ah, man. Okay.
99% of the problems of everybody's life is their own fault.
Yes, exactly. Uh, yeah, I mean, there's so much truth. I mean, that is the truth. That the variation of that question that you would ask is this my fault? I had a previous leader who taught me it's, where in this is it my fault? What is it I brought to this situation, and what is it I can bring to the situation now to help correct it? And, um, just taking that out. And then, of course, the Army, what's the maximum range of an excuse? Zero point zero meters. And you're like, oh, man, there's no
Yeah, and
excuse.
by the way, even if you don't have to do everything, even if you can't do it, ask somebody to help you. Go see a friend, get online, go Google it. You can write a book by Googling some subject.
Yeah.
And they're really you don't have to personally. People ask me what I did at Disney, and I said nothing. I said I just made sure things got done. So I hired great people, let them do their job, train, gave them clear expectations, and you know, treated them well. Treating people badly is a bad idea.
Oh, very much. Yeah.
I said, if you think it's a good idea, try it on your wife. Yeah, you'll
Oh.
find out.
No, I'm 20 years going here, and it's going strong so far.
Yeah, I just got 54, so I'm in good shape.
Nice, nice. Yeah. A good number to aspire to. I mean, that's, yeah, I don't, no, you definitely don't know. My wife and I, growing up, experienced 5 divorces altogether, that our parents had gone through. And that was like our one big thing is that we don't fall into that as well. And,
My mother was married 5 times,
mm, yeah,
my
so you
brother
know,
4 times, and we too. I've been married 54 years. My son's been married 27 years, and we broke that thing, and what you
yes.
did too. You broke that. Somebody's got to break it. Alcohol, drugs, marriage, abuse. God bless you. That's
Thank you.
fabulous.
Yeah. And
So
it was
you've
just,
already achieved something better than most people.
yeah. And, I mean, it's worth it too. I mean, it's,
That just shows you can do it.
yeah. It takes a lot of humility though. You can't be like in your own head, like I'm the smartest, I'm the man of the house. There are a lot of humbling moments. And if it doesn't come from my wife pointing things out, my kids will have pointed things out. Jerry, or they don't call me Jerry, they call me dad. Uh, you say you're about this, but we saw you doing this. And you do that a
Exactly.
lot. And what is it you really want to do in life? Because I don't think it is to drive a wedge between you and your wife. And I'm like, how old are you kids again? Where'd you learn this? And they're like, from you. Like you say it all the time, but we want to see you do it. And I'm like, wow.
Well, kids
Uh,
are always watching. They're observers.
yeah. And I think I've been blessed that I was um, humble enough to let them have that reign to speak that kind of truth at me, give that feedback to me. And because that was something I believe in, is that you should be able to take feedback and grow from it. And if I'm going to shut my kids down because I'm prideful, then I'm full of stuff. And that's not who I
Yeah,
wanted to be. So
yeah,
yeah, it comes back to, yeah, it's my fault. It's my responsibility as well. And I love that. I mean, it's just, you're where you are because you took personal responsibility for what you could do. I mean, your son, Dan, he's where he is because he looked at one day, he's like, I'm in charge of my life. And my dad's got this cool formula that works. I'm going to do that with my flavor. And I'm like, man, Dan's onto something. Like,
yeah. And the biggest the biggest problem is just deciding to do it.
yeah,
Make the break, and you'll be scared, and you'll be first. Things will not won't go well, and but if you got a good plan, you'll finish and you'll go through it and you'll get it done. You'll figure it out, and and get people to advise you and to help you and don't go it alone.
yeah.
And make sure your wife's on board before you go,
Well,
though.
that's huge. That is huge. Yes. Uh,
Yeah.
we had a business meeting a couple of weeks ago because I'm leaving. Yeah, I think I mentioned it earlier. I'm leaving my corporate job. Diving in. I'm going to take a 3 month sabbatical to really hone in. What is it I'm doing in the next 10 years of my life? And I was a little nervous though when she said we're going to have a business meeting because we'd never had one. 21 years, never had a business meeting. And she's like, and our daughter, who's a business major in college right now, she's going to moderate or mediate the meeting. I'm like, I messed up. I don't know what I did, but I messed up. And then so we sat down and for 2 hours, we actually mapped out like what are we going to do with the 3 month sabbatical I'm about to take. What are the things that are and she was supportive of everything, the idea of starting a business, the idea of publishing a book. And I was thinking, this is not what I was expecting. And she goes, no, you've got everything you need. But you're also kind of ADHD and all over the place. So we
Mhm.
just wanted to help you hone in and get a plan. And I almost started crying. I'm like, wow, this is like, I didn't realize I had that support. And here it is. It's been there the whole time. Um,
Well, encouragement's a powerful thing.
yes. Oh, huge.
Daniel and Valerie wrote his book together.
Yeah.
We worked on it together every day, and she had ideas and pushed back and forth and corrected and things. And they enjoyed working together on it, and it made it a richer book.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because exposure to a different point of view. It's not just his own
And
head.
a French lady has a different point of view than a boy from USA.
Yeah. Oh, now, I mean, oh man, we're running out of time. I don't want to run out of time. I never liked running out of time when I chat with you.
Uh,
Um, so we've talked about the three E's. We've talked about the revisions to creating magic or career magic, uh, and where you can buy the book. Before we go though, any final words you want to share with those listening and thinking about their career?
well, I just always have one: don't underestimate what you can do. And two, don't underestimate the personal influence you have, as you know, with your kids, with people around you, friends, family. Uh, you have huge influence, and to be aware of it, be careful what you say and do because people are watching you and they're judging you every second of the day. And just don't hold yourself back. Give your brain a break. Feed your brain just like you do your mouth. And your brain needs to be fed and every day. And if you've got something you want to write about, there's plenty of resources out there to get more and more content. And think about why you're writing it. How's this going to help somebody? Why should somebody buy it? What will they learn? And you'll be great. It sounds like you got a good support with your wife too, which is amazing. And
Yeah, she's awesome. She is so awesome.
so that's the things you got to do. It's about, don't be waiting for other people to push you. You got to go do it. And if it doesn't work, so what? You can get a job. There's millions of jobs and people can't even hire anybody right now. Getting a job is the least of the problem. Yeah.
Nice, nice. Lee, I mean, treasure trove of information and wisdom here, and I'm just so grateful that you're able to take some time this morning and spend it with me and with everybody who's listening. And yeah, we'll keep in touch. I'll be bugging you again every time you do a revision. Trust me, I'll be there.
Anytime, if we can help other people think about how to get out of their box.
Awesome.
And there's a big world out there. Yeah. So good. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it, Jerry.
Yeah, thank you, Lee.
All right. Take care.